jangle, when jingle jangle, all along the banks of the Royal Canal.
Luke stayed behind in Birmingham and attached himself to the folk coterie that was there.
I bought a wife in Edinburgh for a bobby. I got a pound and back again to buy tobacco weed.
He was only interested in developing a repertoire, which was very important to him, and he absorbed songs.
What happened to him in England, in Birmingham, it was a massive educational process.
Passionate to learn about singing, Luke joined the socialist Clarion Singers Choir, where he met the Irish communist and scholar Sean Mulready and his Republican wife Molly.
She adopted him and she civilised him. She had his teeth seen to, had his hair cut, got him a suit, and he got a job. And a year later, there was quite a presentable young fella going around the folk song clubs and working desperately hard to learn material. That was what he lived for, was to learn songs.
Luke was now attending night school. He was learning about literature and left-wing politics from the Mulreadys, but was also profoundly influenced by George Thompson, Professor of Classics at Birmingham University and a member of the Executive Committee of the Communist Party. Luke was now fully articulate in anti-establishment politics and an active member of CND and the Young Communist League.
Young people then hadn't ever heard a word about communism or socialism. These were alien and terrible ideas. See, when you actually were introduced to the literature and you began to read it, it was like saying, well, this makes sense.
Now, the burning issue in the early 60s was the fact that we had planes circling above with nuclear weapons in them. And the wrong message, could start off at the annihilation of civilization as we knew it. This was a very worrying thing. And of course, there was no folk song that could deal with that. Luke loved that song. It became a sort of anthem for the campaign for nuclear disarmament, the CND. He was known as Luke, Sun is Burning, Kelly.
The sun is burning in the sky. Strands of cloud go slowly drifting by. In the park, the dreamy bees are droning in the flowers among the trees. And the sun is in the sky. Now the sun is in the west. Little kids lay down to take their rest. And the couples in the park are holding hands and waiting for the dark. And the sun is in the west.
Luke was a fairly tough Dublin sort of background, but he wasn't just your average guy. I realised that almost straight away, because average guys didn't read, Jean-Paul Sartre and Kerouac and all that sort of stuff.
George Thompson, who had great influence in Eastern Europe, offered him a place at Prague University and had assured him, had it organised. And in 1962, Luke had two choices. He could go to Prague University, he could come home to Ireland to try his luck at ballad singing, and he chose Ireland. He chose to come back to Ireland. But he could have gone to university.
Before settling in Ireland, Luke completed his musical apprenticeship under the legendary Ewan MacColl and his London-based folk group, The Critics. Although he always cited MacColl as his greatest musical influence, their relationship was never an easy one.
People would do performances and then they would be criticised by the others, and it was like a bloody, trial by ordeal,
For young Jamie Foyers in battle was slain.
At the end of the performance, when he's been absolutely decimated by Ewan, I mean, I remember sort of Luke, the head down, sort of shaking his head like that, but there was a smile on his face. You know, he wasn't devastated himself. I mean, he was up. I assume he was saying to himself, fuck this. You know? He saw that McColl was such a good songwriter. He was a great songwriter. He wasn't a great singer. And he certainly wasn't a great, you know, he was guilty of a lot of intellectual dishonesty, but in the songs he was very influential. And I think Luke took that back with him. Mm-hmm. And he saw, I'm not interested in all the rest of the shit, but the songs are great. And the songs that have been pointed out to me that are traditional songs are great as well. That's what I need, and he took that away.
Well, he said himself that he was re-seduced. He said when he left Ireland in 58, 59, he never intended to come back. But as he began coming back and forth during the early 60s, he could see this enormous change going on. And it was clearly the right place for him at the right time, and he was the right person.
Luke had just come back from England, and we met. And the first thing that annoyed me is I was very, very sort of didn't like this English thing at all, you know. The English folkies used to drive me mad, and to a certain extent still do, but, you know, the way everything is so precious and all. And Luke had a lot of experience in England, you know, with a lot of these folky people. And then he said to me, "Now, mate," so that was the first row I had with Luke. He said, "Don't, etc., call me mate. My name is Ronnie."
The Ireland Luke returned to was in the throes of great social change. The monoliths of church, state and employer that had regulated the country since the Civil War were beginning to break down.
No country in the history of the world has endured the hemorrhage which this island endured over a period of a few years of so many of her sons and daughters.
The composer Sean O'Riordan was a major influence in the new popularity of traditional Irish music. Luke said he was thunderstruck at his first experience of a fleadh cheoil in Milltown, Malbay.
Then Luke started coming into O'Donoghue's pub to meet Barney and myself and have a drink. And one Christmas Eve, I think it was, Barney's memory will probably be different than mine, usually is. Barney and I said to Paddy O'Donoghue, "Can we play a few tunes, Paddy?" You know, "Oh, well, yeah, but keep it down, don't make it too, you know." So we played, and since that day, Donoghue's has been packed with punters.
The first song I ever heard Luke singing was, I'll sing a little bit of it. "Oh, come all ye tramps and hawking lads and ganderers ablaw, that roam the country round and round, come listen one and all. I'll sing to you a roving tale of the sights that I have seen, for it's far unto the snowy north and south by Gretna Green.